Welcome to the PinkpillRx podcast, hosted by Katie and Jay Fillmore, where we navigate complex and thought-provoking topics surrounding women with a focus on education. For shorter form content, follow us on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube at Caters88 or PinkpillRx.
That's KATORS88.
If you enjoy this podcast, please give us a follow and maybe a nice review.
Happy birthday, Jay.
Thank you. It's my birthday.
If you're listening and it's 12/8, it's your birthday.
Thank you. It's not my birthday right now. As we're recording, it's not. But I'm sure I'm having a great day when this is.
I sure hope so. That's a lot of pressure on me, though. You know, it is. It's a special kind of pressure when your spouse's birthday comes around.
Yeah, it is. Yep. Yep.
It's a unique one.
Yeah.
So this episode, I just found some interesting information out that I was unaware of that I wanted to share. And it's about the criminal justice system and women. This is not a comprehensive overview of women in the criminal justice system. There is so much here, I'm sure, that I am missing. But this is just stuff that I hadn't personally thought about before. So the first thing, have you ever wondered, when were women allowed on juries?
I have not wondered, but you know what? I know it was after they made that film, 12 Angry Men. Back in like the 40s or 50s or something.
Yeah, I never saw that.
Because I wanted to be in the play 12 Angry Jurors at my high school.
Okay.
But it was based off of 12 Angry Men. And it changed.
Oh,
how they do it now.
So here's just like a little history leading up to when they were allowed.
Okay.
So in the earliest 20th century, before 1920, most states flatly barred women from jury service. The argument was that jury duty would distract them from their domestic role.
Distract, not inhibit. That's interesting. Did you think, they got the kids?
Yeah.
You know, he works. It's inhibiting the family unit, but instead it's distracting.
Distracting.
Because it gets you out in a professional environment, maybe? Anyway, just interesting word choice.
Yeah. So after women got the right to vote, there were some states that did allow jury service, but others didn't. So there was not like a federal law. It was state by state. And those that did often required women to voluntarily register while men were automatically summoned, kind of like today, right?
Yeah.
In 1927, there was a case, Strouder versus West Virginia, where they argued that the early precedent that was set in 1880 that allowed, that technically held that excluding black men from juries violated equal protection. They were like arguing, well, that should extend to women, but the court didn't extend that reasoning to women in that case.
Okay.
So early female plaintiffs had little constitutional support to build on after that particular court case. There was another case in 1946 where Gwendolyn Hoyt was convicted of murdering her husband after an all-male jury trial, because you got to remember, these women who go on trial are being judged by an all-male jury.
Right.
So she murdered her husband, and she argued that her conviction was unconstitutional because women were automatically exempt from jury duty unless they registered voluntarily in her state.
So it wasn't a jury of her peers.
It was not a jury of her peers. The Supreme Court rejected her argument, ruling that the exemption was not arbitrary and that it was reasonable to relieve women from civic duty due to their role in the home, and that it did not impact meaningfully her conviction. There was some state level challenges. So in California between the 20s and the 30s, women's groups were arguing to be on juries and stuff, and they often failed in their petitions. In Massachusetts in 1949, women argued exclusion violated the state's constitution's equal rights clause. The state of the high court dismissed it. Missouri, Alabama, and Texas in the 40s to the 60s, several women raised equal protection or due process challenges in state and federal courts, but each was denied based on the precedent that jury service was not a right but a civic privilege. Okay. Okay. Well, guess what? Let's fast forward to 1975.
That late.
1975. Taylor versus Louisiana is the name of this case. So before 1975, many women who stood trial or were parties in civil cases faced juries composed entirely of men. In states where women were barred or excused by default from serving, a woman could be judged by 12 men while having no legal right to have a woman included in that jury pool. So women on trial and female victims both encountered legal systems shaped by male perspectives. Prosecutors, defense attorneys, and judges were almost all men, and the jury reflected the same bias. So they were like just inundated with men. So in comes Taylor versus Louisiana, which ended this practice. And guess what?
What?
It was brought on by a man.
I was just wondering that.
Billy Taylor, who argued that excluding women from juries violated his Sixth Amendment right to a fair cross-section of the community.
Whoa.
So ironically, it took a male defendant's case to secure women's rights to be part of the jury system.
That's why male voices matter.
But I don't know if it was for altruistic purposes, but you're right. What important it is to have male voices. This is a prime example. All these women fought for how many years to get decades. A jury of their peer.
And then one dude comes up?
And one dude comes up and says, hey, this isn't a jury of my peers.
Yeah. And so then what? So at the court, it
was a federal ruling that then made it to where women were to be included in the jury of one's peers, that they were to be included, like that they were to automatically be in the
jury selection pool. Question. So did this go up to the Supreme Court? Was this just a district court?
Yes. Taylor versus Louisiana was a U.S. Supreme Court case.
Okay. Which is great because it was appealed to the highest court. But then I wonder if it's been legislated since then, because you can, like we saw with Roe v. Wade, you can have a precedent overturned by a future Supreme Court.
True. This decision, though, he won this, and it overturned his conviction. So because he had argued that the jury was unconstitutional.
Yeah.
And so the Supreme Court said, yes, the jury was unconstitutional.
Yeah, what was he convicted for?
Kidnapping a woman and committing aggravated rape.
Oh my God, that is not what I thought this was going to be at all.
Yeah, so that was not altruistic.
Holy crap, man.
This was not altruistic.
No. It was a loophole because he wanted to get out of his punishment.
Yeah, so he was tried and convicted, all-male jury. Louisiana law at the time only included women on juries if they filed a written request to serve. So Taylor's defense argued that this exclusion violated his constitutional right. The Supreme Court said, yeah, you're right, buddy.
And then he just walked.
The Supreme Court ruling did not exonerate him.
Oh.
They declare him innocent. It vacated the conviction and remanded the case for a new trial.
Thank God.
After the decision, Taylor was retried and convicted again in Louisiana. His sentence was reinstated, and there's no public record indicating he was ever released early or exonerated.
Got it. Okay, that's much better.
So he won the constitutional argument, but lost his case again on retrial.
Yeah, because they just awarded him a new trial.
Right.
Not a declaration of innocence.
Right.
That poor woman. What was her name?
Her name was never publicly released.
Understood.
For victimization purposes.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think she's the one that should be known for this. Have you served on a jury before?
No, I have been summoned 3 times, and all 3 times I was breastfeeding.
Right.
And so they didn't choose me because I was breastfeeding.
Yeah.
And I had whatever, I don't know, there was whatever the loophole is for that.
Yeah.
I would be personally interested in serving.
I served on that one.
You did. You served on a false 911 call one.
I did. That was a wild one.
That was wild. You were so disappointed when you found out what the case was. I remember.
I was like,
you're like, just a fake 911 call. And it was everything. There was affairs. There was death threats. There was
it was
insanity.
A huge backstory behind this thing I had no idea about until how many times we got sent out of the room.
Because it was like not applicable to the case.
After it was the opening statement of the defense, he got 2 sentences in and the judge sent us out. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to touch on a couple things that affect women just in the criminal justice system in an inequitable way, in a way that maybe men are not as impacted. Mm-hmm. There is a lack of menstrual products in prisons, apparently.
Oh, shoot. Oh, no.
And it's one of the most consistent documented forms of gender-based neglect in the U.S. So there's limited or no access. So many facilities historically treated pads and tampons as luxury items rather than basic hygiene needs, which meant that women often received a few thin pads per month, sometimes only 2 or 3. and had to buy the rest from commissary, where prices are super inflated. Commissary items cost several days' wages from prison jobs because prison jobs pay 10 cents to 30 cents an hour.
Right. Yeah.
Which is a whole other conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's legal slavery.
Is that 16th Amendment?
I think
or
so.
15th or 14th?
I can't remember. It's an amendment, though.
Yeah. It was one that abolished slavery.
Yeah. It effectively makes menstrual products unaffordable. So when products run out, women resort to using toilet paper, socks, mattress stuffings, torn shirts, torn sheets, which often can lead to infections and rashes.
Right.
Some report being denied extra pads as punishment or having to prove they are menstruating in order to get them. Sometimes people are like reusing these products as well, that they're like makeshifting, which are leading to bacterial vaginosis, yeast infections, toxic shock syndrome.
That one's freaky.
Yeah. There was the First Step Act that was that happened in 2018. It required federal prisons to provide free tampons and pads, but state and county jails, where most women are actually held, aren't bound by it. Some states individually have passed their own laws mandating free access, but implementation is still inconsistent.
Dang.
In interviews collected by the Brennan Center for Justice and the Marshall Project, women described trading food or sex for tampons, bleeding through uniforms during court appearances, and being written up for destruction of property for tearing sheets to use as pads. It just reinforces that prisons were designed by men for men.
Mm-hmm. If I was a woman in jail, and I was ever on my period in front of a judge, obviously I'm saying this hypothetically as a dude, but like I'm wearing nothing. I want this judge to see what happens in jail. Mm-hmm. But then I don't know if I feel that way if I was a woman. So I don't know. But that's unbelievable.
Yeah. Oh, it is. There's some interesting gender stuff when it comes to policing and arresting as well. Women are arrested more often for crimes of survival versus men. So women are often arrested for crimes tied to poverty, abuse, or coercion. So shoplifting, prostitution, and drug use. There's a total over-policing of women of color. There's disproportionate number of stops, searches, arrests, especially for very minor offenses in comparison to the general population. Women tend to suffer from poverty more often, and so there's this inability to afford bail. So women who are more likely to be poor or single parents remain jailed longer. What's interesting is that men tend to get harsher sentences, like longer sentences, unless it's a non-feminine crime in which women get more time.
So if a woman commits a quote unquote non-feminine crime, she gets a longer sentence than her male counterpart?
An unfeminine crime, yes.
Like
so
what?
Harsher punishment for violent or unfeminine crimes.
What's an unfeminine crime?
Like killing your abuser.
Okay.
You're going to end up with possibly a longer sentence than your male counterpart would have.
And sentencing is all judge-based. It's all subjective for the judge.
Crimes against, like crimes that would be considered unmotherly or unwomanly, is going to be, you're going to get a higher sentence for that, statistically speaking. For smaller offenses, men do get higher sentences, like statistically speaking. So yeah, there's this leniency there for like nonviolent crimes, but harsher punishment for violent or unfeminine crimes. Mothers are often penalized, over-penalized, and courts often judge mothers more harshly than fathers. So that comes down also a lot in like civil court cases and stuff.
Okay.
Family court stuff.
Yeah.
Mothers are often treated more harsh. Versus if the guy did the same thing, it would not have been the same outcome statistically, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Sexual abuse by staff is a much bigger issue in women's prisons.
Yeah, God.
Women are more likely than men to report sexual misconduct by guards.
Yep. Yeah, I believe that.
Infectious disease risk. There's a higher prevalence of HIV and hepatitis. Women are placed in isolation for self-harm, menstruation accidents, or disobedience more often. So there's this misuse of solitary confinement. There's an over-punishment for minor infractions. So like women receive more disciplinary tickets for defiance or emotional overreactions than men do. 80% of incarcerated women are mothers, and many are the primary or sole caregivers to their children, which results in termination of parental rights under the Adoption and Safe Families Act. That parental rights can be terminated or lost if children are in foster care too long. So if you have a mom who can't make bail, can't get back to her kids, and ends up being incarcerated until
her
trial, she could in turn get termination of her parental rights because her children are in foster care for too long.
What's too long?
15 out of the most recent 22 months. So that means if a child care has been in foster care for 15 months cumulative, not necessarily consecutive, within a 22-month period of time, the state is required to file a petition to terminate parental rights.
What is the average time frame between arrest and trial?
So with misdemeanor cases, if they actually go to trial, a lot of them don't.
Okay.
It's 3 to 6 months of the arrest. For felony cases, it often takes 8 to 18 months on average before the trial. For serious felonies like murder or sexual assault, it's 1.5 to 3 years or longer.
So it sounds like felonies, for a chunk of felonies and a huge chunk of very serious crimes, you're going to lose your parental rights. And imagine if you're in there and you didn't do it.
Here's the thing. The most common felony women are arrested for in the U.S. is drug-related offenses, particularly possession or distribution of controlled substances. So they account for about 30 to 35% of all female felony arrests and convictions. Property crimes comes in second, such as larceny, fraud, forgery, or embezzlement. And that's 25 to 30%. And then the violent offenses is about less than 15%.
Okay.
So you have the majority of women in there for drug offenses or property crime offenses that maybe they're not even convicted of.
Yeah.
If you can't make bail, you're stuck there for 8 to 18 months.
And if it hits 15 months,
then you lose your kids.
There's a mandate in the legislation.
Unless there are some exceptions, like if the child's living with a relative, that's different. Or if the state agency hasn't provided the services required to help the parent reunify. But it disproportionately affects penalizing poor parents, incarcerated parents, or parents dealing with addiction or disability that might have issues having their children for those 15 months out of consecutive.
Yeah. I remember I think it was called Dope Sick. It was not a documentary, but it was about the OxyContin stuff.
Yes.
Imagine if you were prescribed OxyContin by your doctor, you become addicted to it, eventually you get arrested for possession of it. And you were just like just normal person. All of a sudden, you're addicted because your doctor gave you this drug that was not safe. And then you get arrested for felony possession, and then you can't make bail and you lose your kids.
Which, I would argue, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but that there's probably a very large amount of drug-related offenses such as possession or distribution of controlled substances that are due to poverty. That are due to trying to make an income. Not saying that's okay. I'm not saying, you know what I'm saying?
I know.
But there's layers here. We're not just,
Yeah.
Because I think people would be listening and might think that don't do the crime if you're not willing to pay the time and lose your kids.
Can you really handle having kids
if
you're doing drugs?
This is what you're doing.
Yeah, but you take away the possibility of ever getting your kids back is the thing. If you can get rehabilitated, you can be a renewed individual, but you can't get them back.
Right.
Because your rights were legally terminated. There's no chance for reconciliation there. It's just, I don't know what it's like to have a parent with an addiction. And I don't, you know what, what's it like for that child? I don't know. But my point is, there's no hope for them getting clean and getting their kids back.
Yeah. And there's some ridiculous things that can be upgraded to felonies. Like, here's some examples.
What? Like upgrade? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, like, there was a Walmart shoplifting incident of a DVD of a woman in Texas.
A DVD, like a movie.
A movie, yeah. So she was charged with a felony theft because she had a prior misdemeanor of theft on record. So in Texas, a repeat theft offense, no matter how small, can be upgraded to a felony. So she was charged with a felony.
For stealing a movie.
For stealing a movie. In 2017, there was a woman in Alabama returning late library books. A woman was arrested and charged with a felony for failing to return 2 library books after repeated notices.
What?
The charges were later dropped, but the arrest and booking were real.
Dude. Katie, you can never go back to a family video.
I know. I am blacklisted from the. Are
if any of them are
there
still
even
open
family
anymore?
videos still open? I don't even know what happened.
Your name's on a list somewhere.
All I know is I'm on a blacklist. Which, is that a racist term? Okay. I want to find that out. 1 second. Yeah, so the term blacklist isn't inherently racist in its initial emergence from the 1600s and 1700s, but it is in the fact that black is associated, the symbolism of black is associated with bad, forbidden, or evil, when white is associated with purity and goodness.
Right.
So those symbolic pairings became racialized over time, reinforcing this racist cultural association. So a lot of organizations and HR departments have stopped using blacklist or whitelist, replacing them with neutral terms like a block list or a deny list.
Got it.
But like anything like that, when I hear those words, you know, whenever I hear like black and white thinking or blacklist, like alarm bells go off in my head.
Yeah.
There's something not right about that. Back to our crazy things that were upgraded to felonies for women. Lying about an address for school enrollment. A single mother used her father's address so her children could attend a better public school. She was convicted of a felony and served jail time for it. Voting while on probation in Texas. A woman cast a provisional ballot that wasn't even counted, unaware she was ineligible to vote while on probation. She was sentenced to 5 years in prison for illegal voting.
Oh my God.
And charged with a felony.
Some of these are so bad. Like, I get, why are you going to steal a DVD? Not worth the risk. But then you can say that, but then you can't ignore that the justice system has problems.
Yeah.
You can't, come on, you can't just whataboutism with it. Yeah, but what about that? They should have done the crime. We got to pay attention to the systematic problem too, dude. And our justice system is all punitive. It's not rehabilitative or restorative at all.
Right. And that is a huge issue. There is not the mental health support that's needed. There's not the rehabilitation that's needed. And it's almost comical is the wrong word. It's unbelievable that we live in the day and age that we live now, with the knowledge that we have on human psychology now and the knowledge we have on poverty and what that does to people's in their circumstances, and that we still are just sending people to jail with no support or rehabilitation.
Private prison should be illegal.
That it should be.
Make
prisons
profit.
For profit.
Yeah.
Yes.
It should be outlawed.
Horrible.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Because then you're going to try and get more people there so you can make more money.
Yeah.
The whole system becomes crooked.
Another thing that's a felony that I could see people easily falling into, specifically women, is that if you hide or lie about the whereabouts of an abusive partner, you can be charged with aiding and abetting or obstruction of justice, which are both felonies, even if you're motivated out of fear. Yeah. So you think about the manipulation and the influence that an abuser has on a woman. It would be easy to understand why she might lie or try to protect them.
Yeah.
And then you got to think about the struggle after you get released, right? You're faced with possibly homelessness. Many women who exit prison without stable housing, are affected by homelessness, and shelters often refuse those that have a record, which I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's the employment barriers, criminal records, block jobs, especially in caregiving or education, fields that are dominated by women. Some states bar women with drug convictions from public housing, food stamps, or student aid.
Oh.
These systems in general, though, the prison system, their policies, the facility designs, healthcare standards, they assume a male population. There's often very little reproductive health care that is provided in prison for women. Many women who are incarcerated are survivors of violence. It's estimated that 70 to 90% of women who are incarcerated have been a victim of violence themselves.
Wow.
And there's this cultural media bias against women too, where there's a lot of moral judgment. So courts and media often frame women offenders as either monsters or fallen women. Women are punished not only for their crimes, but for failing to meet expectations of femininity, motherhood, or remorse. There was a news story about a woman who the news story line was baby, something to the effect of baby rescued after being left alone for I forget how long it was, for 4 days unattended or something like that. Okay. The story was the mom freaking died from postpartum complications, and the newborn they found with the mother, and the newborn was still alive. But the news article, the headline, made it sound like the mother was neglectful.
Yeah, baby was left.
The baby was left.
Jeez.
There is often a spinning, and I get that there's sensationalization and stuff like that from the news and the media. Mm-hmm. I get that. But the mother died from postpartum complications that probably could have been caught, which is a failing in and of itself.
Yeah.
But the headline is that the baby was left alone. So there's just a lot of cultural bias against women too when it comes to crimes and criminal justice. But at least we get to be on juries now, everybody. Can you imagine being a woman going up against a jury of all men?
All dudes? No. Oh God.
Especially if it was like a situation where you defended yourself against an abuser or something.
Right. Yeah, and all the guys are like, okay, what was she wearing?
Yeah.
That kind of conversation, that genre of conversation.
Right. Or guys being able to empathize, with the male victim if there was one in this case.
Right.
But not women being able to empathize or understand the female point of view.
Yeah.
Which, that's not what being on a jury is being able to empathize with somebody. I get that. That's not my point. But the point is
it's supposed to be representative of the community.
It's supposed to be representative. Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that. But not until 1975, folks. Jeez. Until the man.
No, that's a wild.
Meanwhile, women had been fighting for it for decades, getting turned down at every opportunity.
Yeah. And then this, piece of work,
Billy,
who was convicted for this, and then he makes it happen for everybody.
Yep.
It's crazy. Crazy story.
Crazy. Which state do you think has the highest female incarceration rate?
Alabama.
Wrong.
I don't know.
Idaho.
What?
138 per 100,000.
Idaho. What are they convicted of?
I don't know. The national average is 64 women per 100,000.
Wonder why Idaho.
So, yeah, this is what's going on. Aggressive drug enforcement and long mandatory minimums.
Oh. So it might just be
a
disproportionate amount of justice.
Yes.
A disproportionate amount of crime.
Right. Limited access to treatment or diversion programs. High poverty and low availability of public defenders. and punitive parole and probation policies. Oklahoma in particular, which is behind Idaho at 130 per 100,000, held the top spot for years until Idaho surpassed it, and both states are often cited for incarcerating women, especially mothers, for nonviolent drug and property crimes. Okay, well, that's what I have for the criminal justice system. I know there's so much more than that, but I am
maybe
I'm
some
curious.
people will email in or comment about it with other criminal justice system notions to be explored. So keep them, if you have anything that comes to mind, please send them our way. PinkpillRx@gmail.com.
Yeah, PinkpillRx@gmail.com.
Or you can comment if this isn't a TikTok video or something. Or, on Spotify, you can comment. I hope for those of you listening, something was intriguing or sparked a curiosity, or you felt affirmed or challenged. Stay educated. Take the pink pill. If you enjoyed this podcast, please give us a follow and maybe a nice review.